Operation Night Sovereign, January 3, 2026, 2 a.m. local time. The Caribbean darkness concealed what would become the most controversial military strike in modern American history. 6 stealth MH-60 Black Hawks flew in perfect formation, invisible to radar, silent as death itself. Inside sat 72 operators from Joint Special Operations Command's most elite units, Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, and CIA Special Activities Division paramil operators. These weren't just soldiers, they were the apex predators of modern warfare. Their target was unprecedented. Extract Nicolas Maduro, Venezuelan president and head of what U.S. intelligence had designated as the Western Hemisphere's largest narco-terrorist organization. This wasn't a standard raid. This was a decapitation strike against an entire criminal empire disguised as a nation. The intelligence that led to this moment began 2 years earlier. In November 2023, a high-ranking Venezuelan military officer walked into the U.S. Embassy in Bogotá, Colombia. He carried with him something extraordinary: complete access codes to Venezuela's military communications network and detailed floor plans of 7 presidential safe houses. His name remains classified. His motivations were simple. His daughter had died from contaminated cocaine in Miami. Cocaine that originated in labs protected by Maduro's government. The officer wanted revenge, and he was willing to give America everything to get it. Over the following 18 months, CIA operatives worked with this asset to build an unprecedented intelligence picture. Every movement Maduro made was tracked. Every secure location was mapped. Every security protocol was documented. By October 2025, the intelligence community possessed something remarkable: Maduro's DNA profile, his medical records, real-time access to his security details communications, and GPS coordinates for his current location updated every 30 minutes. The operation could proceed. Have governments ever become the very cartels they're supposed to fight? Comment your thoughts below. President Trump's authorization came on November 18, 2026 during a classified briefing at Camp David. The Joint Chiefs presented 3 options. Option 1, precision drone strike. Option 2, targeted sanctions and continued diplomatic pressure. Option 3, live capture and extraction. Trump chose option 3 with one caveat: bring me that narco son of a bitch alive. I want him in an American courtroom. The mission planning that followed was extraordinary in its complexity. JSOC established a classified forward operating base on a U.S. Navy amphibious assault ship positioned 120 nautical miles off the Venezuelan coast. From this floating fortress, planners studied every detail of the operation. The challenge was immense. Maduro maintained 6 rotating residences across Venezuela, changing locations every 72 hours. His security detail exceeded 400 personnel, a mixture of Venezuelan special forces, Cuban intelligence advisors, and hired Russian mercenaries from the Wagner Group. He traveled in armored convoys. He used body doubles. He trusted almost no one. But intelligence had revealed something critical: Maduro's arrogance. Despite all his security measures, intercepted communications showed he felt untouchable. "The Americans talk big but do nothing," he told his inner circle in a phone call on November 25, 2026. "They will never dare." He was wrong. The breakthrough came on January 2nd, when signals intelligence detected Maduro at his most secure location, a fortified compound in the Colonia Tovar Mountains, 60 kilometers west of Caracas. The compound sat at 6,000 feet elevation, surrounded by dense forest, protected by multiple security rings and equipped with surface-to-air missile batteries. It was supposedly impenetrable. Mission planners identified the optimal strike window between 2 a.m. and 2:45 a.m. on January 3rd, when Maduro's security detail was at minimum staffing and visibility was lowest. If you believe a warrior should go anywhere to stop those who poison our children, hit like now. The operation launched at 10 p.m. on January 2nd. From the amphibious assault ship, 6 MH-60 Black Hawks lifted off carrying the assault force. Simultaneously, 2 MC-130J Commando II aircraft departed from a classified airbase carrying psychological operations teams and airborne command and control. B-2 Spirit stealth bombers armed with precision-guided munitions circled at high altitude. F-22 Raptors established air superiority over the target area, but the real operation had begun hours earlier. At 5:00 p.m. on January 2nd, CIA cyber operations teams initiated Digital Siege, a coordinated attack on Venezuela's military communications infrastructure. Using zero-day exploits developed specifically for this mission, they infiltrated networks across the country. Venezuelan commanders suddenly found their secure communications degraded. Radar systems displayed false targets. Air defense batteries reported phantom threats. The chaos was intentional and systematic. At 8:00 p.m. on January 2nd, a series of accidents occurred across Venezuela. A major power transformer exploded in Caracas, cutting electricity to military command centers. A fire broke out at the main telecommunications hub in Maracay. A fuel depot near Barquisimeto erupted in flames after what officials would later call maintenance error. By midnight, Venezuela's military was fighting fires instead of preparing for war. Meanwhile, the helicopters approached at wave-top level, using advanced terrain-following radar to navigate through mountain valleys. Pilots flew with night vision goggles, their hands steady despite flying 180 miles per hour just 50 feet above the Caribbean. 12:30 a.m. The strike force crossed into Venezuelan airspace. Venezuelan air defense detected nothing. Their radars showed clear skies. Their communications nets were silent. The most sophisticated electronic warfare suite ever deployed made the helicopters invisible to every sensor Venezuela possessed. 1:45 a.m. The helicopters began their final approach to Colonia Tovar. Below, the compound sat dark and quiet. Intelligence indicated approximately 150 guards on duty. Thermal imaging confirmed their positions. Perimeter patrols, rooftop sentries, interior security, every warm body was identified and assigned to a specific assault team. The plan was brutally simple: simultaneous multi-axis assault. Hit every entrance simultaneously. Overwhelm security through speed and violence. Reach Maduro before anyone could organize resistance. 1:57 a.m. 3 minutes to target. Inside the lead helicopter, the mission commander, call sign Reaper 1, addressed his team for the last time. "Gentlemen, in 3 minutes, we will do what no military force has done in modern history. We will capture a hostile head of state on his own soil, execute with precision. No American casualties." Questions? There were none. These warriors had trained for 9 weeks specifically for this mission. They knew the compound's layout better than their own homes. They knew every contingency, every backup plan, every abort scenario. 2:00 a.m. Operation Night Sovereign commenced. The first helicopter didn't land. It hovered 15 feet above the compound's main courtyard while operators fast roped down in complete darkness. 12 men hit the ground in 8 seconds. They moved with mechanical precision toward the main entrance. Simultaneously, the second helicopter delivered its team to the compound's eastern wall. Explosive charges blew a 6-foot breach. Flashbangs followed, then the operators. The third and fourth helicopters assaulted the northern and southern perimeters. Guards died before they could raise their weapons. Communications were jammed. Escape routes were blocked. The Venezuelan security forces never had a chance. Should foreign leaders who run drug empires face American justice? Comment Y or N. The assault was a masterclass in close quarters battle. Teams moved through the compound in pairs, flowing through corridors like water. Every corner was cleared. Every room was secured. The suppressed gunfire was nearly silent, just mechanical clicks and the sound of brass casings hitting marble floors. Venezuelan guards attempted to mount resistance at the compound's command center. 8 men barricaded themselves behind reinforced doors, screaming into radios that no one could hear. Delta operators responded with precise breaching charges that blew the doors inward without causing structural collapse. The defenders inside were dead before the smoke cleared. 2:06 a.m. 6 minutes into the assault, the compound's main residence was breached. Intelligence had indicated Maduro's bedroom was on the second floor, eastern wing. The assault team reached it in 90 seconds. 2 Cuban advisors guarded the door. Both reached for their weapons. Both died. The bedroom door was reinforced steel disguised as mahogany. Breaching it required a shaped charge specifically designed to cut through hardened barriers. The explosion was precise. The door disintegrated while the surrounding structure remained intact. Flashbangs followed, then the operators. The bedroom was empty. Reaper 1 to all elements. Primary not an expected location. Initiate search protocol. Thermal imaging detected movement beneath the floor. Maduro had triggered a hidden elevator leading to an underground bunker complex. The bunker had been built with Russian assistance, reinforced concrete walls, filtered air supply, enough food and water for 3 months. It should have been his salvation. It became his tomb. The CIA asset had given them everything, including the bunker's access codes, What Delta Force found in that bunker would shock investigators for years. A command center monitoring cocaine shipments across South America, communications equipment for coordinating with Mexican cartels, financial records documenting billions in drug proceeds, and sleeping in a fortified bedroom, Nicolas Maduro and his wife. How long before dictators realize no bunker is deep enough to hide from American justice? A. Never. B. Too late. C. When Delta knocks, answer at the end. Contact! Target acquired! Maduro woke to find 6 assault rifles pointed at his face. His wife screamed. His bodyguards, the 2 that slept in his bunker, reached for weapons that were immediately kicked away. Nicolas Maduro, you are under arrest by authority of the United States of America. Do not resist. The Venezuelan president, who had ruled his country through fear and violence for over a decade, who had ordered the deaths of thousands, who had enriched himself through the suffering of millions, this man who had thought himself untouchable, was zip-tied and hooded in 30 seconds. Jackpot. I repeat, we have jackpot. Primary and secondary targets secured. 2:09 a.m., 9 minutes from initial insertion to capture. The mission wasn't over, but the hardest part was complete. Now came the extraction. Outside, Venezuelan military units were finally responding. Despite the communications chaos, base commanders had heard explosions. They dispatched what forces they could muster. Armored vehicles rolled toward Colonia Tovar. Infantry units scrambled. Fighter jets prepared to launch from La Carlota Air Base. They were too late and outmatched. The B-2 Spirit bombers received authorization to engage. Precision-guided munitions turned the approaching armored column into burning wreckage. The runway at La Carlota erupted in a series of explosions that would take weeks to repair. Venezuelan fighters never left the ground. Meanwhile, AC-130 gunships provided close air support around the compound. Any Venezuelan unit that approached found itself on the receiving end of 105mm howitzer fire. The message was clear. American warriors were leaving, and anyone who interfered would die. 2:18 a.m. The extraction helicopters touched down. Maduro and his wife were loaded aboard the lead Black Hawk. Around them, operators secured captured intelligence materials, hard drives, documents, encrypted phones, everything that could provide evidence of Venezuela's narco-state operations. All elements collapsed to extraction. We are departing. The assault teams pulled back in textbook fashion. Security teams provided covering fire while others moved to the helicopters. Every operator was accounted for. Every piece of sensitive equipment was recovered. 2:25 a.m. The last helicopter lifted off from Venezuelan soil. 16 minutes on target, 72 operators, 0 American casualties, 1 dictator captured, 2,000 pounds of intelligence seized. As the helicopters climbed into the night sky and turned toward the Caribbean, Venezuela descended into chaos. Without Maduro, without communications, without leadership, the regime began to fragment. Military commanders refused orders from Vice President Rodriguez. Provincial governors declared independence. The National Assembly proclaimed itself the legitimate government. The narco-state was collapsing. Should we apologize for bringing justice to those who poison American streets? Type SWAT Power if you support zero tolerance. The helicopters landed on the amphibious assault ship at 4:04 a.m. Maduro was immediately transferred to a C-17 Globemaster III transport aircraft for the flight to the United States. His destination, Joint Base Andrews, where FBI agents, DEA prosecutors, and Justice Department officials waited. By 6:30 a.m., he was in American custody on American soil. President Trump's announcement came at 8 a.m. Eastern Time via live address. My fellow Americans, last night, our extraordinary Special Operations Forces conducted a precision operation against the criminal regime of Nicolas Maduro. This narco-dictator, responsible for flooding our streets with poison for causing the deaths of thousands of American citizens, has been captured and will face American justice. Let this be a message to every drug lord, every terrorist, every criminal who believes they are beyond our reach. America's long arm is longer than you think. The international reaction was explosive and predictable. Russia condemned it as an act of war. China demanded emergency UN Security Council sessions. Cuba threatened retaliation. Iran called it American imperialism. Every dictatorship, every authoritarian regime, every enemy of freedom condemned the operation. Their condemnations meant nothing. In Miami, Venezuelan exiles celebrated in the streets. In Caracas, despite the chaos, citizens tore down statues of Maduro and Chavez. In Washington, both parties praised the operation. Around the world, America's allies quietly supported what America's enemies loudly condemned. The legal framework was unprecedented, but solid. In early January, the Attorney General had secured secret indictments against Maduro in 3 federal districts. The charges included this conspiracy to import cocaine, 200 metric tons annually, narco-terrorism resulting in death, money laundering, $27 billion identified, providing material support to designated terrorist organizations, conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals. Each charge carried a potential life sentence. Combined, they ensured Maduro would die in American prison. But the true value of Operation Night Sovereign emerged in the intelligence hall. The material seized from Maduro's bunker provided unprecedented insight into global drug trafficking. CIA analysts discovered detailed records of cocaine shipments to 31 countries, bank accounts in Switzerland, Panama, and Singapore totaling $11 billion, communications with Mexican Sinaloa cartel leadership, evidence of bribery involving officials in 17 countries, operational plans for expanding trafficking into Europe and Asia, lists of corrupt American officials who had received Venezuelan bribes. The intelligence triggered a cascade of follow-on operations. Within 72 hours, coordinated raids struck in 12 countries. Venezuelan military officers were arrested in Colombia. Money launderers were detained in Panama. Corrupt officials fled in Mexico. The entire network was unraveling. The man at the center of it all sat in a federal detention facility in Virginia, awaiting trial. When sovereignty shields criminals, should borders stop justice? Shield or strike? Choose your side. The aftermath reshaped South America. Venezuela's interim government, recognized by the United States and 47 other nations, began the long process of reconstruction. American humanitarian aid flooded in: food, medicine, electrical grid repairs. Navy hospital ships anchored off the coast. Army engineers worked to restore infrastructure. For the first time in over a decade, Venezuelans had hope. The intelligence exploitation continued for months. Each document, each hard drive, each encrypted message revealed more of the network. Additional arrest warrants were issued. Assets were frozen. Criminal enterprises collapsed. And in classified briefing rooms across Washington, military and intelligence officials studied Operation Night Sovereign for lessons learned. The mission had proven several revolutionary concepts. Multi-domain operations could blind and paralyze a hostile nation. Cyber warfare could replace traditional kinetic strikes. Intelligence-driven precision could capture high-value targets with 0 casualties. American warriors could operate anywhere, anytime, against any target. The operation would be taught at West Point, Quantico, and the Naval War College for decades. But for the operators who executed it, there were no press conferences, no medal ceremonies, no public recognition. They returned to their units, debriefed the mission, and prepared for the next operation. The only reward they sought was the knowledge that they had defended America. That's what quiet professionals do. Operation Night Sovereign sent shockwaves through every criminal organization on Earth. If Delta Force could reach the president of Venezuela in his fortified mountain compound, they could reach anyone. No security detail was sufficient. No bunker was deep enough. No border was sacred. The age of untouchable criminals had ended. When the final assessments were complete, 1 narco-dictator captured, 1 criminal regime destroyed, $11 billion in assets identified, 72 operators deployed, 0 American casualties, 60 minutes on target, 12 countries affected by follow-on operations, 47 nations recognized new Venezuelan government. The quiz answer: C. When Delta knocks. History shows dictators never believe they're vulnerable until the moment operators appear in their bedroom. No amount of security, no fortified bunker, no international law protects criminals who threaten American lives. 3 questions to consider. When a government becomes a cartel, does it deserve the protections of sovereignty? How many American overdose deaths justify military action against foreign narco-states? If special operations can't touch dictators, what deterrent remains? To the warriors of JSOC who executed Operation Night Sovereign, your names will never be known, but your courage echoes across the world. In 16 minutes, you proved that American justice has no borders, no limits, and no mercy for those who harm our people. This is SWAT Power, where tyrants learn fear and freedom rises from the ashes of tyranny. Subscribe because the next target is already being tracked. Like if you stand with our warriors, share if you believe no criminal is beyond American reach. When the signal goes out, justice strikes. SWAT Power, freedom's sword cuts deep.